What up, y'all? Shiro Fujioka, aka Voltage Controller. Checking in with y'all today. I read in the comments a couple of weeks ago, someone asked me if I would speak about my influences. And given that I make a lot of different kinds of music, I wanted to, I believe the question was in the context of hip hop because it was on one of my beat videos. So with that said, I love speaking about, especially in this day and age, I like speaking about not only hip hop, from a cultural perspective, but also creatively in hip hop. One of the rules in hip hop is not to bite. So I definitely like to explain the difference between, being influenced and just straight up, biting or copying. Like I always like to say, we're supposed to be carbon based, not carbon copy. So originality is a big thing in hip hop, but also we also do influence each other, and we're influenced. So the time that I started out, was in the just the age of Boombap, in the 90s. Pardon me. That's when I got my first sampler. I got the Akai MPC 62, and that was, my gateway into like officially, being a practitioner of hip hop, because that year I saw DJ Premier using the same sampler. So, that'll bring me into my influence. And I'll go back a bit because before I even had a sampler, the thing I was really into was making pause tapes, and that's where you have a cassette tape and you take like, you play a record and you record like a fragment audio, like a loop. You hit, pardon me, you hit record and pause, you play the loop, let go of the pause button, let the loop play, record that little fragment, hit the pause button, put the record back to that same point. When it gets to the part where you want to loop it, release the pause, and you keep extending those loops, so that was like a primitive form of constructing, loop-based music before having a sampler. So in that era, what I was listening to and the producers that I was like trying to imagine, like, how are they making this stuff would be like Marley Marl back in the day, a lot of early Juice Crew stuff, rest in peace to Biz, that was a super early influence, was Marley stuff. So, my ear was definitely tuned into like how he was chopping drums and, sample selection and just the overall feel of making music that was original, yet still was using the art of sampling, but still putting your own spin onto it. So, that's something that I definitely would say that I look to put into my work as well is sampling, but like not. One, I don't really like sampling just straight up loops, which will bring me to one of my other influences, which will be DJ Premier. So I'll break down like why I like certain producers. So, since I've moved on to talking about, how I sample, DJ Premier comes to mind because I definitely, he's one of my early influences. And I definitely have, looked at his playbook and looked at, how he chops drums and, how he samples selection, first of all, and the sounds that capture the attention and that also sound good if you want to work with vocalists. A lot of that I get from Premier and the way that he chops his samples and how he gets intricate. It's like an auditory puzzle. But the thing that I do to not step on his toes sonically is he has like specific patterns that he uses when he chops up samples and stuff. So I stay away from that, and I'm like, okay, I need to find my own patterns, and you can still approach it from that perspective, but you can still put your own spin onto it by using a different time signature, chopping your fragments of audio differently, and you can carve out your own sonic signature. But I definitely have no problem giving it up to the OG. Like I definitely I peeked in his playbook a little bit, like unapologetically, like, and with all humility, and honor, so all day, I'm a fan first, as well as a practitioner, but we should pay homage to those that came before us, and let people know, that we're echoes of the culture, even though we're pushing it forward. Like I stand on a very firm foundation. Another influence that I'd like to speak on would be Large Professor, for pardon me, so many reasons. Like, first of all the people that I mentioned, they're all DJs, so that's very important, and that's something that I've also done as well, very deliberately, because I want to be like my influences. So they were DJs. I started out as a DJ before I made beats. So Large Professor, great DJ and lover of music. Like, follow his Instagram. Like, bro is like on it every day. Spinning records back and forth. Every once in a while, he'll bless us with a beat. I wish he would like Large Professor, like, please bless us with a beat, like, once a week would be dope, like every Friday. I would love that, like, honorably and graciously I ask. Word up. But yeah, he's another one, big influence, from record selection and the kind of sounds that his ears are tuned to, like, definitely assisted me, like, even like outside the studio and in the record store. I'm like thinking like, oh, like, this is some shit, like, oh, if you find a record that nobody samples, like, you imagine who would want to sample it. It's like, oh, this might be some shit that Large Professor would kill. It's like, gimme, so I can build my legacy off of dope sample selection as well. So yeah, I'm gonna do this as a continued series, because I could honestly talk about this for so long, and I have so many influences. So I'm just gonna start there, and we'll continue. So thanks for joining me. Shiro Fujioka, aka Voltage Controller, live and direct from Kiss My Converse, California, Los Angeles to be exact. Peace and love.